Hello. Hello, everyone. That's weird. So this is something new. For those who follow me, who know me through Discord, you might have some idea why things are going to be a little different. For example, I rarely post anything on YouTube. I honestly don't, and I stopped. But then some things happened in my personal life that I won't get into that made me have to change my plans for the upcoming year for the podcast, which I probably will still post things on the podcast and attempt to do things on my TikTok. But the only plans that are in that I'm definitely doing, I've spent not a lot of money, but I've spent a little bit of money on some things for some new content, um, some things I'm going to build uh, on in videos I'm going to upload to YouTube where you will I will actually be talking to you throughout, so it's not simply me with my hands on the table building or drawing, which I'm going to do some drawing videos. Um, this is basically a test. I will say this that for those who have listened to my podcast, I have talked a lot about trying to make things when I record as silent as possible, just because of the editing process. But the thing is, these videos are going to be different because I have no editing. I have no video editing software. That is something that was not really a priority because everything I do is all audio. Um, it's something I probably will look into, but it's so far down the line that I'm not concerned about it right now, and probably won't be for a while. But I still wanted to put out content during the really at this point probably the rest of the year. But I knew that I wouldn't have the freedom with my time and the responsibilities that I'm going to have within the next couple weeks. Um, I'm going to have more responsibility um, within a couple weeks from now of the recording of this. That's going to pretty much carry over at least through possibly January. I'm hoping not that long, but there's a possibility of that. So I don't have the time to really go into the uh, the very long and aggravating and very stressful recording process. I love creating, but the editing process, anyone who creates content and has to go through editing videos or audio, you know what I'm talking about. It is a very frustrating um, aspect of creating any kind of content because when you're doing audio, you have to be um, so honestly got to be so hard on yourself to try to listen to the audio because very clearly because depending on the quality of your equipment, which my equipment is manageable, it's not studio quality. I don't have an isolation booth. I don't have a way to completely isolate the outside noises. I'm working on some things that hopefully will help with that, but it's never going to be like studio quality with the setup I currently have, and that won't change for a while probably. And keeping that in mind, that one of the things that's going to be different with these videos is I am not worrying about because I can't edit out the audio, I can't do any of that stuff. It's going to be very whatever happens happens. If in the middle of recording a video something happens and I have to pause, then it will probably be a two-part video for whatever I'm doing because I don't know what kind of freedom I'm going to have as far as my time to be able to spend an hour working on a video. I may have that. I may have that some days. I may not have that for weeks at a time. I really don't know. But also, part of the rest of the year is um, I needed something that I could do that I would enjoy doing. And I do enjoy creating content, but I had to do it in a way that would alleviate the stress of editing and all of that to the degree that I'm not losing my mind just working on the editing process. Um, because I don't, like I said, I don't know if I'm going to have that time to go into it and create really quality edited programs, videos with what I have, plus with the time I'm going to have. So, and I need an outlet. I need something to, when things are going to get stressful, I need something to focus on. And, you know, drawing, building models, which is actually going to be something new. I'm going to have some sort of Lego stuff. For right now, I have, it's just part of a test video. Do it again. Huh. As part of a test video, I think the light changed. Anyways, I'm going to be building this small Lego set creator thing that I won from a streamer on Twitch. I believe this thing came from someone over in Britain, England, somewhere over there. And before I actually get into that, another reason why you probably heard that background noise. If you didn't, that's great. If you did, well, that gives you an idea of what I'm, from an audio standpoint, when I try to record things, that's what I'm dealing with. So, like I said, that kind of stuff is going to happen. And right now, over behind the camera is a fan blowing on me, and which I always turn off when I'm recording because that makes a lot of noise. But because I'm trying to do this in a way that's not going to stress me out too much, I'm not in a situation where my room is like, so cold that I'm not. It's going to be summer. Air conditioning may not work the best, so when I do these videos, I'm going to have a fan. I'm going to have water that you might hear moving as I drink it, whatever. It's because that's what it's going to be, because it's the only way I can do this that's not going to make me lose my mind. Let's see. I'm going to test something out. I'm going to pause the video for a moment and see if I can come right back into it. Okay, so I'm guessing there's probably a jump in that because I don't have any recording stuff. I may do some testing with some some white, some background music. I have behind me. I have a TV that I can hook up to Spotify and maybe see if there's some some background stuff that is public domain kind of stuff, so that it kind of helps with some of the noise pollution in these videos. But we'll see. So, okay. So what we have here is a Lego Creator bag of Legos, and as you can see, it's a chicken, 2 little chickens, and some eggs, and it's for ages 6 and up. I think I meet that requirement. And one thing if you listen to my videos, my podcast, I do voices, and I'm going to try to kind of, as I'm doing these things, to, commentary in those voices to try to add something to it. What that would look like, I don't know. As you can see, this is a fairly small thing of Legos. Instructions right there. If I'm being honest, it's probably one of the first Lego anything that I built in years. I was big into Legos when I was younger. I mean, back in the day when Legos were not expensive as they are now. One thing I kind of discovered in looking for stuff to build for these videos is that Legos, the brand name of Legos, if you get something that's worth building, you're spending a lot of money. I don't want to. The only reason I'm doing this is because I won this. If I'm being honest, I wouldn't have bought this for myself. Just because, when I'm building something with Legos, I want something like I'm a big fan of Star Wars and a lot of the different franchises that have Legos, but like I said, they're very expensive. So I had to kind of, when I was looking at what to build, um, I looked into Lego, and while looking online for Legos, I always see these other Lego-like things, Lego knockoffs, if you will, and I've always avoided them just because, it's probably not as good as Lego and stuff, and you know, and maybe back in the day when people were trying to, I guess, compete with Lego, the stuff may not have been as high quality as Lego. I guess I don't know. I would have to research that to even look to even know for certain. But as I was looking at some of the stuff and looking at the reviews, you know, I realized that I'm never going to really get Legos, not the ones I want because you know the ones I look at that I would love to build, especially for one of these videos, is like I don't know, some cases a couple $100, and you know, years ago, if I had that kind of money, I definitely would have spent it on. I could have seen myself spending that kind of money, but um, I'm older, and I realize I have more important things I have to pay for. Maybe not now, but will. So I'm a bit more uh, not. I'm a bit more smarter with my money for the most part. I've made mistakes, but um, I let me put it this way: when I look at something that I would like to get, the question always comes back is, what am I going to do with this? How long? Like, what is the purpose of this? And a lot of times, the fact that it would just be enjoyment for me is just not enough because I have other things that I can do to find enjoyment that either don't cost me or I already own. So I'm like, it's sort of like um, honestly, the stereotypical uh, why go out for food when you have it at home. Um, as adults, I think that's something that you always have that question come up when you go out to eat. You're like, when you're thinking of, oh, I would love to get this to eat, or I would love to go out, and it's always a question of, well, we have food at home, so we can't do this. Um, and I think it's important to have those times to go out and not have to cook. But when you're living on a budget, you know, when you're trying to make plans in your life to try to do better, recognizing that part of that is having the finances to actually, um, yeah. Okay, so I organized the Legos, um, which here's a little update for when I start working on the bigger Legos. Well, not the bigger Legos, the alternative ones that hopefully will be good. Two of them that I was looking at that were actually Lego, like each of them were around thousands of pieces. So honestly, those videos are going to be multiple videos. I'm not going to push myself with those, and one of them actually can be built into three different things. So that video is going to be that series of videos is probably going to be long because I will build each of the things, and I don't know if it's a case of building one and then being able to move things around and transforming it to another, but I don't think so. I think it's just set up so you can use the Legos that come with it to build these different things. And I said Legos, and it's not Legos. Um, Actually, the two that I bought were actually both different companies. I didn't even get them both from the same company. Um, okay. Um, let's see. Let me open this thing up. It's a very simple Lego setup. It's not very hard to do. Um, okay, the first. See if you can see this. Um, yeah, it. first thing is fairly simple. Gotta take this thing. And needs, let's see. Okay, goes on this. The other one, let's see. Okay, and then the next two parts, they go on top of them. That's easy enough. But going back to like my childhood with Legos, I was big into Star Wars. I always have been, and I remember back in the day, I had, um, what was it? Jabba's. I had like the big Jabba cat. Well, I don't know if it was called his. It wasn't base, his layer, or whatever it was called. I had this massive one, and it was huge. Um, a lot of things I remember about Legos back. Um, just dropped the Lego, and it's and my carpet. It's green, and this was green. Let's see. Let's see. Okay. That goes. Yeah, like I said, I had Jabba's Palace. That's what it was called. It's a big thing, and the thing is, back then, I don't, I kind of doubt that I bought it, but because of like the cost of things have gone up, something like that nowadays, and even when I've looked at online to see how much like a newer one of those is, you're spending easily a couple $100. Where back in the day, it was probably by those days standards, it was not cheap, but I guess growing up and seeing the increase of Legos and all that, it's like I can't foresee spending that kind of money for myself. Um, that being said, I probably would maybe spend that kind of money for someone else later on in life when I have the kind of budget to be able to do that, because I would want to be able to um, do something to make someone else's day. So this first thing, it's basically just a little piece of green, I guess you could say grass, leaves, and two little golden eggs. Well, I guess technically they would be brown eggs because chickens, when you think of chickens, a lot of times you think brown eggs. Um, and then the next thing is actually building these two little um, chickens here. Let's see. Okay. So it's first step in these is just attaching these two pieces here, and do that twice. And here's the interesting thing about Legos. Like when I was younger, it would always, it would frustrate me sometimes when the Legos would fall apart. Um, and I guess it still probably would, but I feel like back in the day when I was younger, it would have frustrated me, and it did. I feel like now doing that kind of stuff is the opposite, very calming, because I'm focusing on something, um, you know, not having to really think about anything else other than what's in front of me. And a lot of times that is a very difficult and frustrating thing to do, to have to focus so much on everything else outside of your world, because it is so, the world has gotten complicated in so many ways. I'm going to pause for a second. Okay. Okay, I'm back. I do apologize again for any kind of jumpiness that's in this. Like I've mentioned at the beginning of this thing, I do not have any editing software, and honestly not going to be concerned about that. Um, so while I had to take a short break to look at something, um, I was thinking about something that's interesting, um, especially considering what I'm building. Uh, I'm not a big fan of chickens in the sense of like the live animal. Um, my father has a hobby um, that, frankly, is eh, of raising chickens, and a lot of times when he's away on these chicken shows, which I don't understand, I am taking care of his chickens, and this is not like a backyard kind of thing. This is a you know one corner of our property is like this several buildings, a couple of sheds, and it's been that way for longer than I can remember. I mean, once upon a time, it was he had like thousands of birds, and it was a you know it is what it is. We all have to have things to kind of deal with life. Um, but the funny thing is like for those who are familiar with the communities on Twitch that I'm a part of, like there's one that has saying about rubber chickens and stuff, and it's all in good fun, but it's just funny the fact that I have because of having to take care of my dad's chickens, I don't have much love for chickens in that respects, but yet here I am because it's a Lego thing. Um, I'm building these little chickens, cartoon looking things. Look at the eye on this thing. It's humongous. And I'm gonna when I get finished with this, I'll take a picture and post it to my Instagram with the final product and a link to this video. Obviously, if you're watching this video, you don't need a link to it, and I just realized I did something stupid. Um, so since I'm probably going to post this as sort of like a preview of what's to come, and hopefully people will watch it before I leave on my mission trip. Um, oh, I'll talk a little bit about in a moment about um, what I'm doing the next couple weeks. So these are little two chickens that are little chickens. Um, oh wait a minute, I messed that up. In a couple weeks, I am headed towards a mission trip in Charleston, South Carolina. I have I went to school in Charleston several years ago, over 10 years ago. I went there on a mission trip actually a couple years before COVID hit, and it's basically just it's always been a special place for me. So um, I kind of like the timing of how things are that I'm going on this mission trip. Um, like literally, uh, I'm leaving the Sunday after my someone in my family has to deal with this. It's got a surgery he has to do, and I have to take on more responsibility afterwards while he's recovering. Um, so like coming back from that mission trip, I'm gonna have these more responsibilities that I'm gonna have to do, and that's the reason why my content is gonna be different. So this last thing is this chicken. Wait a minute, there's the yeah yeah there. Um, okay, let's see. Um, it's crazy to think how much things have changed the last couple of years. Um, I've been a youth leader at my church. Within a couple of years, it'll be 10 years, and it's just crazy to think that it's crazy for me to think that I'm that close to 10 years. Because I think I'm at 8 years, and I mean I've loved everything I've done there, but and I've talked to the leaders about this, and I'm planning on to eventually move just to go somewhere and start over. It's not necessarily because I don't like what I do, but I realized that much like with a lot of things, everything, the Bible says that there's a season for everything. And I think that is the same with just life in general, that sometimes there are things in your life that you do for a time and then you move on to the next thing. You're not necessarily, it doesn't necessarily say anything was bad about what you were doing, but you just recognize that it was time to move on. And um, there's a part of me that has kind of felt like that, just realizing that that time is slowly approaching. And then when this whole health thing came up, that I have to, you know, have more responsibility, it made me realize that one, if I went along with my original plan, I probably wouldn't have been here to help out with that. But also, it made me realize that I've been here too. I have been where I am long enough, and I need to, I mean, obviously, if you're on listening to this my YouTube, you're familiar with my podcast. Hopefully, like I want to be able to focus on my writing, and I honestly don't feel like I can do that as well in my current circumstances with my life. I can do some, but not to the best of my ability, I believe. So um, uh, that's part of the changes that I'm looking at doing is being in a position where I can eventually focus more on my writing. I've enjoyed everything I've done with the youth group I've been part of, and I'll always look back on it fondly. But I also recognize that much like just everything in life, it's just I went into the youth group as a leader really with an idea that I wasn't going to stick around forever. Um, and like I said, I think it's just I think I'm ready to move on because I'm a much better person now than I was when I started at the youth group. I've grown a lot better, and I mean, I still struggle with things, but I think my faith with God has definitely grown as my journey has gotten a lot better during my time as a youth leader. It's definitely drawn a lot out of me that I didn't know was there. Um, but it doesn't change the fact that I've always kind of felt a yearning, a drawing, whatever you want to call it, to try to do something creatively with writing and maybe even using that platform to maybe talk to people about my faith. Um, 'Cause my faith is hugely important to me. One thing that I've also realized when I'm doing this is I need to um, either change the camera angle or just be more conscious of where I'm working on this. Let's see. Um, oh, thought I was missing a piece, but it was already on there. Um, uh, and I mean, I'm kind of one of those people that I don't really feel the need to I don't want to preach at anyone, and I don't feel like that's what I'm doing. I'm basically speaking about my life and how my faith has affected it, and I wouldn't be the person I am without it. I personally don't understand how some people can live without having some kind of, I guess, higher power that they look to. Uh, okay, now we're almost to the very end of this thing. Um, let's see, how's this? Okay. So, not that I'm going to be doing any kind of streaming with this. I mean, not with what I'm about to mention. Um, Actually, I probably won't mention that. I found an old game on stream that I was big into when I was in college, um, called Spore, and it was about basically creating a creature from basically I guess the cell of an amoeba, I guess that size, and just it it. I mean, I didn't. It's one of those things that it's. I guess technically, it's a. The game, while it does kind of talk about it doesn't really talk about evolution. It talks about the evolution. You're kind of pushing a creature from little cell, one cell thing, and you're slowly playing the game, and it's slowly kind of getting smarter. And to me, that is just a sign that to create you can create a game where they basically you have to push them on to the next level of so I guess in a way it does technically use evolution in the game, but it also shows that it requires something higher power to push that evolution along. I don't personally believe in evolution, but you know. So here's one thing: if you done anything with Legos, you know that there's always extra pieces. Now, I'm sure that extra pieces are meant to be there if you but lose any pieces. But when I have extra pieces, I actually use them on something this small. Right? Yeah. So let's see. In this case, um, have see. Wait a minute. I'm missing a piece, I think. Huh. I was pretty sure I was missing a piece. I did. Okay, that's weird. I remember having another piece. Probably. Huh. That's unusual. I remember having a longer piece, which I'm guessing fell down somewhere or I used something wrong. Let's see. I remember having an extra piece and that's going to bother me. Let's see. Huh. You know, funny thing is, I think this is actually the second time I put it together, this thing together, because I put it together when I first got it. I think I must have. Either there's a piece that somehow just disappeared, or I put it wrong together the first time. Okay, so these last little pieces. It's gonna stick one there. Stick. Say that's a flower. I don't know what this is, but okay. So here we have little eggplant thing. These two little tiny chickens. Waddle waddle. I'll take a picture of that with my phone because I think that will have a better quality. It will look better. But in the end, it's essentially supposed to look something like this. And it sort of does. Okay. Be on the. And yes, I am sticking these things complete back into the bag because that's what I'm doing. This is probably the first of two test videos. I'm going to do another one where I'm drawing. That's it for now. Bye. Oh, and before I finish, the one thing that will probably be different is I'm going to create some kind of intro and outro drawing. Maybe I'll do that in the test stream, test video, two drawings. Okay, everyone. Bye.